With episode 5 and 6 of Velma being released, we're now just over halfway through the show. Whilst it hasn't got any better, there's certainly many things that we've taken away from it, especially when it comes to the flaws in the show. With there only being 4 episodes left, it feels as though based on what we've seen so far, it's building towards a somewhat predictable ending. So with that, I thought I'd break down and explain the direction in which the ending of the show is going in and give my theories and predictions on how I believe it's going to end. So let's get into it. Here is how Velma is going to end. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Throughout the 6 episodes of the show that we've had so far, we've had 2 main underlying plots that look as though they could now be tied together. We've had the killer in the town that's been removing people's brains, and we've also had the case surrounding Velma's missing mother and Velma's hunt to find her. In the most recent batch of episodes, we had a flashback where we saw that Velma's missing mother was at Fred's family's house before they moved into it, on the night that she disappeared. And the reason behind her being there was because she was looking in the basement when Norville's grandmother was originally working on the Scooby project alongside the military, a project which was focused around removing people's brains and putting them into soldiers. This to me already tells us how this show is going to end. I think there are 2 possibilities that we could see occurring. Velma's mother is the killer. One way in which I think that the story could potentially wrap up could be with Velma's mother being revealed to be the killer that's removing brains from the people of the town. We know that she got obsessed with the principal's mother and was interested in the Scooby project just before she went missing, so there's already been a connection established between the 2 main overarching narratives. We saw how studying the Scooby project can become almost like a curse, as it seems to drive the people that study it to the point of insanity, like we saw with Norville's grandmother. She ended up in an insane asylum due to wanting to make the Scooby project work and never truly understanding what it was, as we saw with the writing all over the wall. With Velma's mother's research maybe turning into an obsession, she may have gone missing, so to speak, so that she'd be able to learn more and practice trying to achieve the first successful Scooby project. The justification of the removal of the brains of the popular girls at the school and the ones that are considered hot could be because they were the ones that gave her daughter Velma grief when she was at school. This was told to us in episode 1 of the show. Velma used to be best friends with Daphne, but once Daphne made friends with all of the popular girls, Velma was essentially left with nobody, and they all picked on her, so this could be Velma's mother's way of looking out for her. There's definitely a plausible case that could justify this being the ending of the show, and to be honest, I feel like it's most certainly heading in that direction. Velma will most likely see the harsh reality of the person that her mother has become, and then once finding her, she'll be disappointed. That's what I think could occur anyway. Now on to the next one. Velma's mother's brain is inside of a dog. Another way that I think this show could finish would be in a less serious fashion, and it would address both stories and wrap them up together. Instead of Velma's mother being the killer in the town, it could turn out to be somebody else. I'm uncertain of who it could be, but what we could see happen is that Velma's mother could actually be the first successful subject in the transferring of a brain out of the human form whilst keeping it alive. But instead of putting her mother's brain inside of another human, due to it being at the early stages, they may have put her brain inside of a dog, and maybe even a Great Dane. With the show not being able to incorporate Scooby-Doo the dog within this show, this could be their way of being able to get a talking dog into the show and pay homage to the character in their own unique way. There's been so much focus on the removal of brains, and with the revelation of the transferring of brains in the most recent episodes, it feels like this could well be the case, and they're setting it up for her to be in a non-human form. That way, Velma will get more of a happy reunion with her mother, even though she's in a non-human form, but as she would have her own brain, she'd be able to communicate with her. In terms of the other characters in the show, I feel we could actually see Gigi potentially be in on what's occurring. We've seen the attitude that she embodies and the controlling nature that she has over Norville, so there's an ounce of suspicion there. I think we'll most likely see Daphne and Velma be together by the end of the season, and I feel we'll also see Fred just continuing on being how he is. There's no real growth or development with Fred. He strikes me as a character that will just continue on. As I've said in the past, Norville has actually been probably the only good thing in this show, so I hope they don't ruin the way that this character is heading. It does certainly feel as though this show is going to end in an underwhelming way. The endings do feel relatively predictable, and I would be surprised if there was a large twist that would make the show any better than what it already is. It's been a tough watch for the 6 episodes so far, but I'm deep enough in it now to want to commit to the ending and see what exactly is going to happen, and if it will be redeemed in any way whatsoever. I suppose we'll just have to wait and see. The future of the show. With this show being extremely controversial and absolutely tanking when it comes to the ratings that it's received, it's actually had the opposite effect to what most shows that tend to perform badly would usually have. Whilst rating-wise it's been really unsuccessful, in terms of drawing in viewers to the show, it's actually become the platform's most watched animated show of all time. So it has had some success in getting people's eyes on the show, which is what I imagine the creator's sole aim was. Especially with it being a first season of a show, which is often the hardest thing. I think this then means that there are a few different options for the future of Velma. We could see them continuing to create this show and give it a season 2, keeping the writers on board and continuing with the story and the world that they've set up. And I think this would solely be down to the conversations that the show has sparked and the way that it's tapped into a fan base, despite damaging the characters. However, I don't think that will work in the long run. It's interesting now because this is the first iteration of it. However, the longer it goes on, the more it just becomes a bad show and people will have just got used to it, so nobody will watch it or even talk about it anymore. So I don't think that's a good road to go down, as it will just ruin the show and the characters even more. But what they could do is utilize the platform that they created along with the world that they did as well, and get a better team of creatives in to come up with a story that's compelling, along with altering the style of comedy and almost transforming the show. What they've got right now just doesn't work, and it's clear to see due to the fact that it's become the worst animated show in history in terms of ratings. And it's also on the verge of becoming the lowest rated TV show of all time, so they've not done well at all. However, with people watching it, it most likely means that a second season is going to go ahead. It will be interesting if it does, because the approach that they take could genuinely change the show in a positive way, but I don't see that being the case. I feel they'll focus on the talkability of the show and be fine with getting bad ratings, which is a bad place to be and paints a bad picture for the future of television shows, especially animated ones, when they're being cut left, right and center. But hey, let's see how the show ends first. So, there you have it, how Velma is going to end. If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. How do you think the show will end? Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.